Hello guys, and I think I should really make some sound for this intro. But anyway, welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna talk about something that I think, well, I've never seen it done like this before, and came out of a necessity that I had for one of the small unfinished games that I made. I'm gonna show you here. If you watch my first video, you might have seen it. So this is basically a tennis game, some sort of that. And one of the things on this game is that the blocks here, the platforms, they work kind of like the Arkanoid game. You know, the one that has the tiny bar and the bar bounces the ball and hits the blocks on top of the screen. Yeah, so think like that, but the floor is the things that gets destroyed. So you have the player 1, player 2, and as the ball hits the floor, in my case here, the floor gets damaged until they deplete its health and they explode. I'm gonna play here so you can see it in action. I think I have them as AIs, so I'm gonna plot them as AIs. If it takes too long, I'll change that to no AI. Let's see here. I'll bring this screen over because it's open in the monitor. Here I have the AIs playing, and you can see here how the floor is getting damaged, and of course my bug kicks in as I'm showing you. Let me play again. So yeah, you see the ball when it hits the floor gets damaged and slowly cracks appears, and eventually the floor actually breaks. See that with a nice explosion effect. The thing I use here is a normal tile set all around. And what I made is a custom component that you can actually put on top of the tile sets that you want to be destroyed. So I can actually use any tile set. If I create a new tile set on my game and use it as normal, I can just put my breakable component on top of it, and then from there on that tile set will be destroyed on impact, and I have full control on when it's destroyed. I can add sounds, animation, and so on. So I'm gonna show you how I've made it. I create both guys just died. I'm not gonna show in this code because this code has a lot of small things that I added for the purpose of my game. I'm gonna do a really simple version, and then later I can just show how my version is set up. All right, let me open here. Keep the project list. Tile break video. I'm gonna now move this to the main monitor because of course I'm not gonna go there automatically. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. So ignore all of this error. I don't know this for. Okay, so I made a simple setup here. I'm assuming you already know a little bit, well, enough about Tilemaps. All right. So I have the tilemap set up here. You have to know what's the tile size you're using. So in my case, I'm using a tile of 32 pixels by 32 pixels. What else? It's important here. I think that's it. The size of the tile is the most important thing. So in my case, it's 32. All right. So every square here is 32 by 32, and so on. That's really important later because we want to have the snap configured so you can use the component nicely. Okay, so once you have your tile map set up, I made here just for example purposes a tiny raised body here. I gave a tennis ball sprite to it. I set up it to bounce, so it will just bounce a couple times on the floor. And yeah, I'm not gonna go over this, but yeah, basically it has all the defaults. The only thing I changed is the material. Where is the material? No, where is the material now? Oh yeah, physics material. I just put the physics material so it bounces, so I added bounciness here. But that's not the purpose of this video, because in my case, I'm making the tiles break on impact of an object. But for your case, you might want it to, like if you have a tile that's like a wall, you might want it to be destroyed when your player hits with a sword or hammer, whatever, and it will work for that as well. In my case, I'm just using an object to hit it from top to bottom. It's kind of like what I had on my tennis game, right? So I'm gonna show you how it is now. Just gonna play here real quick. The ball bounces, and that's it. It doesn't do anything. And you can see here the log, it's colliding already and it's logging it. So I have a script here. So I have the ball. Let me call this ball, and I have already the node signal on collision already registering. So when it hits the tile map, it's already emitting an event here, a signal. Okay, that will be important soon enough. So how do we start? Okay, first thing first, so I'm gonna create here a new node, and this new node will be, these things are really small here. Gonna be a new node of static body 2D, right? And this new node here, I'll call this a collision, no, breakable tile. I'm gonna add a child node, and this child node will be a shape, collision shape 2D. And in this collision shape 2D, I'm gonna assign a shape, and it's gonna be a rectangle, right? And this rectangle will be 32 by 32. So it's basically the same size as my tiles, right? Because this here, because the thing is, it's not your tile that will handle the destruction of itself. It's like a layer that I put on top of the tile that I want to be destructible. So this is 32 by 32, and then yeah, that's the basics of it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go here, gonna attach a script to it. Breakable tile, yeah, that sounds good. So I have the script, right? So I will add a class name here. Class name. Name, and then just same name. Breakable tile. Right, breakable tile. One thing here now, you're gonna do an export, and this export here, you're gonna receive your tile map, right? So export tile map. This is, so as I said before, you want this component that you're making, you can use it with any tile map that you use across your game. So I'm exporting the tile map so you can configure it whenever you're using this component. All right, so you're gonna see that in action in a second. So I'm gonna hit here just one function. I'm gonna call this one break, okay? Because in our case, the tile map will disappear as soon as something causes it break. So there is no health to it. I'm making it really simple because the principle is really simple, and then you can extend it as you want. All right, so you're gonna go tilemap, set cell, set cell. Oh, by the way, I'm using the Godot 4.2. Before that, I think you'd have to use cell V. You can see that my Copilot is actually suggesting cell V, but that's not available on 4.2. So you might have to take a look at the documentation to see what's the equivalent in the old function. All right, but for my case here, using the latest or the current Godot at the time of recording, is you pass 0, and then you go tilemap local to map global position, and that's it. Got it. Tilemap, and then after this, I can just call Q3. Okay, not liking something here. Tilemap. Is that the name of the function? Of course. Yeah. So the problem here is because I was giving the name break, and break is a reserved name, so you're not allowed to use break as the name of a function. So I'll call it break tile. Okay. So yeah, that happens. So yeah, back on track now. So I create here this, it's a really simple function. Basically what it does is just whenever the break tile function is called, it will look in the tile map and remove the cell that is in the position of the global position. The global position here is the position of the component itself, so the breakable tile. So whatever that is positioned is going to check which tile is set there in the tile map and remove it. And then after this is done, the component removes itself from the game, calling Q3. All right. So with that done, we can then come here, and you see how this is actually offset. Now we're gonna do some adjustments into the editor, so it's easier for us to set up our component on top of the tile map. So you see the tile map here, all the squares that represents each tile. The tile map are not aligned with the breakable tile. So if I try to move that, it will just be anywhere, which will be a pain to set up. So what I want to do is come here, see that use grid snap, but you see how big this grid is? You can deactivate the pixel snap. You're gonna come here in the 3 dots, the snapping options, configure snap, and what you're gonna do is the step, you're gonna put 32, right? So if I do okay here, you see now that the grid is way bigger and sort of similar to the tile map. But you're gonna see now that there's a problem. It doesn't snaps inside the square. It snaps on the crossing of the grid. So to circumvent that, you go again here and you can configure snap, and you're gonna give an offset of half of the step. So half of the tile size you're using. So if you're using 16, the offset would be 8 and the grid step would be 16. All right, in my case it's 32, so the grid step is 32 and the offset is 16. Okay, so now it looks like it's messed up, but actually it is snapping correctly. So if I, for example, align the thing here, if I see the tile map is actually exactly on this guy here. All right, so if I press play now, nothing's gonna happen. Still bouncing on the same spot. But what I have to do is actually make the call for that destroy function. So first, before doing that, I want to come here. You see that this is created inside my scene. You want to change this to be its own scene. So you save branch as scene. Breakable tile scene. I'm not creating any structure here, so I'm saving everything in the root, but save it in whichever folder you need to save your components. So saved. So now I have to do two things. First, you see here the tile map. I don't have anything assigned. The breakable tile, I will drag and drop the tile map into the tile map option here. So we have our tile map that we're using to the breakable tile map export. And besides that, I can go here into the ball. I go to the function that I connected. So see, I had that connected here. And now, if I just append here the object that's being collided to, just so we can see what is happening. And let me see here. I'm just gonna line the ball in on top of the tile here so we can see better. And I'll reduce the gravity because my screen is playing tricks on me. Gravity 0.3, right? That doesn't make too painful to. So see that every hit, it's actually announcing two different objects that have been collided to. So you see there is, let's see the first one here. So it got collided and breakable tile and also the tile map. The one that we need is the breakable tile. All right, so we're gonna go back to that code. I'm gonna go here, the code of the sample scene, where we are listening to the signal from the ball. And what we can do here is, oops, sorry, that's my Copilot kicking in. So if body is breakable tile, body dot break tile, right? So if we save this now and come here, the tile disappears once the thing touches it. And now that's most of it. So let's see how we would reuse. I want to make the entire section here breakable. So how easy would that be? You could just like take your component here you have now, breakable tile, and just drag and drop into your scene. And then you drag with the tiles selected there, drag in position. Where do you want it to be breakable? So if I want just the top one to be breakable, I can put all the top ones and actually one thing that I do is, you see here, the first one has a tile map set. The second one doesn't have it yet because I just assigned that to my scene. I have to do tile map, drag and drop. But once it's configured, I can just click and duplicate and move it, duplicate and move it. And all of them already have the tile map set up, right? So that's the basics of it. So if I put this one here on the bottom and then duplicate another one here on the bottom, now when I run this, it breaks, and then when it hits again, breaks the bottom one, and hits again and breaks the last one, and gone. So that's it. That's pretty much how you do the breakable tile component. Well, that's how I made it. Is there other ways to do it? Probably. That's the way I imagine and put it together to work for my needs. What I like about this is because it's really versatile. Okay, so what I can do now here, I'll show you my component. Actually, I'm gonna show you something else here. If you're doing something like I did here with a ball that hits the floor, the tile map, one thing that you have to change is in your solver, you have to activate contact monitor and also change the maximum contacts reported. All right, because if I have this just as one, it's going to report either the component or the tile map, never both of them. And because they're overlaying, it's hard to know which one will be reported. Maybe not hard to know, but I don't know how to force which one to be reported. So you want this to be a high enough number. In my case, 4 is fine. But if it's 1 or 0, you're at a risk of not having that working. Other things that's nice to have when you're dealing with a rigid body is to have the continuous collision detection set as cast ray. In our case here, it would work fine with it disabled. So disable still work fine. But why would we want when would we want the continuous CD to be something else, like the cast ray, is when the object is moving too fast. Okay, so if the ball was moving too fast and I'm falling from too far away, or the gravity is too high, the speed is so big that when it's computing, it's going to actually pass the tile map and not compute the collision, and just gonna be like a ghost. It's just gonna go from here to the other side. So it's nice to have the where is it? The continuous CD on cast ray. In some scenarios, if the object is moving slowly, it's fine. But sometimes if you don't get that working, just take a look at continuous CD. Okay, that's just some remarks regarding my type of collision. Okay, it's not specifically to the tiles that we made here, the component for breaking the tiles, but just in case you're trying to replicate what I've made here. All right, so I'm gonna show you now some extra content. Let's see here. I'm gonna close my project and I'm gonna switch project list, save and close. I'm gonna open the Tennies project and I'll show you here my code for my case, right? Not much different, but there's a couple things that you might find interesting. So I go here to my breakable tile component. You see that I have two. I have the ridge body on the top, and I have the collision shape, very much as we did in the other project, the basic thing. But I also have a sprite 2D. And if I open the sprite, the texture, you can't see much here. Let me see if I can show you on my Finder. The right rows. Really hard to see. Really hard to see. But it's basically open the sprite. Okay. So it's basically this. And I just not view it in a tile mode. It's basically a tile sheet with a sprite sheet with every state of my tile when it's breaking. So I have like the tile unbreaked, and then slightly broken, more, and then it disappears. So what I've made here is I have a sprite sheet made out of this. So it's like a strip with the 6 squares. And I have this loaded in here. So it's transparent here. So you probably can't see properly, but it is here. So it starts from here and finishes here. And I said, what's the size of the rectangle and everything. And what I've done is it starts on the top one that has nothing, and everything else has a slightly more cracked and it's transparent. So in my script, it's pretty much the same script as the one we've made together. But what I have here is I have a constant for the tile size, that is 32, and how many tiles I have before it actually breaks, so 5. And if the position of the sprite here is smaller than the size of my sprite sheet, I add to the position of the region that is being displayed. So basically, instead of showing the first one that's empty, after the first hit, it shows the second one that's slightly cracked, and so on and so forth. And once it reaches the end of the sprite sheet, it actually removes the tile. And in my case, I also have a package scene for an explosion. So it instantiates an explosion, sets the explosion to emit because that's a particle system, and then removes the tile from the tile map. So that's how I get this effect here. So I'm gonna go to my first level, and I'll disable the AI so they don't be picking the go around. That's how I get this effect here, where it goes slowly breaking the tile, and then there's the particle system. Okay, so yeah, that's it. I hope that is of any use for anyone there that is looking for something similar. Again, that is about knowing how every small piece of Godot works and putting things together for your purpose. So that's why I showed a really simplistic version. So you can take that and implement in any way you want. Okay, take my idea and improve it because it's a really basic idea. You can use, as I've made here, like put some explosions, some effects, use an overlay of a sprite, so you can put some breaking effects on top of any sprite. That's what I wanted, because now I can have a different tile map, and the crack will still appear on top of any different tile map I use. That's good for me. So yeah, make good use of this information. If you have any question, suggestion, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.